Human trafficking. It's considered modern-day slavery, forcing people to work against their will.
It happens in every corner of the world, including right here in Northeast Indiana and Northwest Ohio. But many people don't realize how big of a problem it really is. That's why 15 Finds Out investigator Alyssa Ivinson started digging deeper to uncover the problem of hidden predators.
Human trafficking encompasses both sex trafficking and labor trafficking. It affects men and women of all ages, races, and social status. It's a $150 billion illegal industry worldwide. The FBI considers sex trafficking to be the fastest growing organized crime. It's estimated 18,000 people were trafficked in the U.S. in 2015. Half were children, 75% trafficked into the sex trade. In Indiana last year, nearly 200 cases of underage sex trafficking were reported to one service provider alone. On any given day, hundreds of children are being advertised for sex online in just 10 Indiana cities. 25 to 40 of those are in Fort Wayne. The numbers can be staggering, but stopping human trafficking starts with acknowledging that it's happening here, and it's happening now.
It's here, just people don't notice it.
We see it on a regular basis.
Fort Wayne, Indiana shocked me.
It can happen to anybody, any race, any religion, any gender.
We don't think it's here. We think it's third world underdeveloped countries, and that's not true at all. It's here in Indiana, it's Fort Wayne, Huntington.
If you allow yourself to be educated and you open your eyes and understand what trafficking really looks like, then you'll never be able to deny it again.
Last year, the Fort Wayne Police Department investigated 15 cases of sex trafficking. 11 victims in those cases, 23 people arrested. In a joint operation with the FBI, the department also helped rescue 3 more underage girls from sex trafficking. What do those numbers say to you?
I think it's surprising, and also that it's probably something that's even bigger than what we even realize. Probably just really the tip of the iceberg.
Our numbers on human trafficking are probably well under what they really are because we don't really know.
How big a problem is human trafficking in Northeast Indiana?
It's one of our largest, fastest growing crimes. The one thing that our investigators are finding is that gangs are now realizing that they can sell a drug once, but they can sell a child 3 or 4 times in a day.
Not all, but most sex trafficking involves women or girls forced into prostitution or pornography.
We have a lot of local pimps that live right here in Fort Wayne. And, you know, we use the word pimp, and everybody, they picture, you know, leisure suits and big puffy hats. It's anybody. It's just a businessman is all it is.
The FBI's been targeting sex trafficking in Fort Wayne for the last 3 years, working undercover operations to try to help girls get out and take down the traffickers.
I can guarantee there is no hotel in Fort Wayne that we have not been to or had an operation in. It'll happen everywhere and anywhere. At the beginning of last year, over the course of a month, we started working into 4 different cases of human trafficking. So in the span of 3 months, we had 8 girls that we were dealing with, and they were all underage.
It can start many different ways. Girls often groomed over social media. Traffickers make them feel special and wanted, will even buy dinners and presents.
And then all of a sudden, hey, you've got to do this for me. And then when she doesn't, he either beats her or has somebody else beat her. And then she's so afraid for her life that she doesn't really have an option. And some women, it's very difficult for them to get out of that.
You know, they will find ways to manipulate you and brainwash you into thinking that you're the girlfriend, you're more important than the other girls, this is just how it is. Using other girls to say, hey, I've been doing this for X number of years, it's really not that big a deal.
One Fort Wayne case involved a teenager who ran away from home. She put on Facebook she needed a ride. Within 6 hours of getting picked up, she was prostituting.
Prostituted with 3 people until they met with us when we finally were able to stop it, and we got on it quickly. I mean, it was that next morning we saw it and we acted on it. As fast as we saw those pictures, we thought, she's underage, we need to get her like now. So we were the first date for the morning, so we stopped it quickly.
How misunderstood is sex trafficking?
I think the perception is most women want to be doing what they're doing.
I could tell you I've talked to all of them, and none of them wanted to do this, but they got stuck.
Post-advertising girls can be found all over the internet. One of the more popular sites, Backpage, was recently censored by the government.
It's a good message to bring awareness, which is obviously why a lot of things have been upticking, is there's a lot more awareness in human trafficking. So it is a nice thing to bring awareness, and maybe in the end, it'll bring up more support.
But awareness starts in the community, and everyone acknowledging when something doesn't seem right.
People look at it and say, oh, that doesn't seem right, but then they cast it off because they're busy with what their day is, so they don't realize what they just saw.
Do they have hotel keys? Do they have an excessive amount of money? Who are they with? Are they hanging with people that appear too old to be their boyfriend or girlfriend, but too young to be a parent? Other things like, how do they behave around them? Are they really open and honest about what's going on? Are they very guarded in what they talk to you about? If that person is around and you ask them what they did today and they can't tell you without asking for permission, there's a problem there.
Every Thursday this month, we will continue our series showing you ways you can protect your children, the hidden pitfalls of social media, and the challenges law enforcement can face combating sex trafficking. Next Thursday is Katie Roche's story. She was forced into sex trafficking when she was only 8. Now a survivor, she shares her story of a long journey of healing and a message to girls trapped in the sex trade right now. Now, if you think you've seen sex trafficking, or if you're in a situation now and you need help, here's the number to call. The free national hotline is 888-373-7888. You can also call your local police. And right now on WANE.com, we also have a list of resources for you, warning signs and red flags, so you can spot human trafficking and try to stop it.
One of those things you think can't happen here, but it does.
It does every day in every city in America.
All right, thank you, Alyssa.
Good evening. It is hidden in plain sight. Human trafficking is a growing epidemic, yet many people still don't realize it is happening right in front of them.
15 Finds Out digs deeper now to expose the hidden predators. And tonight, Alyssa Iverson continues our exclusive series. Alyssa.
The faces of human trafficking can be anyone's, and how they're trafficked can take many forms. But the damage it causes physically, mentally, and emotionally is nearly universal. Tonight is Katie's story.
It's here, we know it's here. We see things on the internet almost every day.
Human trafficking, a crime growing across America. No city is immune.
They just keep them in a hotel or in another facility.
Thousands of girls and boys trapped in the sex trade, many underage, many hidden in the shadows.
We're seeing a lot more familial trafficked victims. Family members or very close members to the family are actually exploiting these youth.
Human trafficking is complex trauma. It's a trauma that's happened over and over and over. It's not a single rape. The response and what happens is so different. Real estate businesses, if somebody doesn't have the funding.
Katie Roche is a budding entrepreneur
And kind of time period.
creating her own consulting company of generating credible leads for small businesses.
And find out what it is that they need, what kind of product they have and they sell, and then they get a batch of actual appointments instead of leads.
There was a time in your life, though, that you probably could not have envisioned the person who's sitting here today.
Definitely. There were some really dark times in my life. One when I was actually experiencing hell on earth.
Katie's parents split up, her mom moving her to another state. In the summers, she'd go back to visit her dad's side of the family in Oregon.
During that time, I started being, molested and sexually abused by a family member.
The next summer, Katie's uncle recruited her cousin to help him. She was only 8 years old. So was her cousin, and he became her trafficker.
Exploitation that took place online, this was 12 years ago. Chat rooms were basically the thing. He would present me, having me type, or him typing, pretending to be me. People would ask for specific things. They wanted pictures. He would provide what they wanted, and then came to a point where he realized I can get more out of this. And so that just kind of evolved into selling sex.
Her family traveled the state going to rodeos. Katie's uncle and cousin trafficking her out of a trailer.
At the time, I didn't know what it was, and it really didn't matter. It was horrific. I didn't really have a choice over what was what was happening. You know, I basically experienced the same thing every day over and over again. I got desensitized.
It continued for 8 years. Katie turned to drugs and alcohol to cope and practically stopped eating.
There was a part of me that just wanted to die. Maybe I didn't want, to kill myself, but I just thought it would be better just waste away.
One day she passed out at school and CPS got involved, sending her to a rehab facility.
Do you think those teachers saved your life?
Yeah, I can remember specific people who didn't turn and look the other way.
For people who say, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just call the police? It's not that simple.
No, it's definitely not that simple. Fear encompasses it more than anything. Things that were said to me, if you, don't do what we say, well, then we're going to go after your younger sister. And then that fear is like, well, I don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to keep doing what they're asking of me. And the longer that it went on, really the more intense the fear was and the stronger the psychological, chains were.
How psychologically damaging is sex trafficking?
It's a game changer. I mean, it reworks our brain system, not just physiologically, but psychologically as well.
Dr. Robin Eubank works at the Youth Opportunity Center in Delaware County.
It changes their world. It changes their belief system and their value system. They're supposed to trust that adults will keep them safe. And they go through these experiences and it reworks that thinking. They learn that you can't trust other people. The people that love you the most are the ones that hurt you the most.
The traffickers, master manipulators.
Some people have even referred to them as some of the best psychologists because they use theoretical principles that we use in psychology to entice these individuals, to gain their trust, and to build a relationship.
In complex trauma bonding, victims develop an unhealthy relationship with their abuser.
The abuser will sometimes be nice, and that will feel so good to them, and they'll be very excited, but then sometimes not be so nice. And that's what we call intermittent reinforcement, like a slot machine, if you will.
Where these girls have been erased. That part of their brain that says this isn't right doesn't control the part that says I need help. No one has ever told you that they would beat you or your family if you say it's easy to just run away.
A sex trafficking sting in Fort Wayne just last week shows those fears and threats firsthand. Detectives found an ad for possible prostitution on the website Backpage and set up an appointment. When they arrived at the motel, they saw Sean Earls and Amber Brooking leaving. The prostitute was inside. She told the officers that she had just met Earls on Facebook a week earlier. She said she had to pay Earls half of what she earned. He had already slapped her across the face once when she didn't get the money. And he told her if she tried to leave or tell anyone what was happening, he'd kill her. Fort Wayne police arrested Earls for promoting prostitution. Brooking, whose Backpage ad is still active, was also arrested, but not for prostitution.
Talk to you about trauma bonding.
Now Katie shares her story, speaking at conferences across the state, hoping to educate the public and help other girls trapped in the sex trade.
I don't see myself as a victim anymore. In fact, I don't even like that word. I say I was victimized because I was. I'm not gonna let what happened to me drag me down for the rest of my life. I want to be happy and I want to be successful and I want to basically show people that, there's life after trauma. Because you're stuck in a situation for a period of time doesn't mean that you have to be stuck in it forever.
So what would you say to somebody who is in it now?
That you're worth it, that there are people who are fighting for you, there are people who are out there, and to try to reach out. That can be really difficult, but I think that there's always a way, so look for that way and then take the risk.
Katie also has a 4-year-old daughter now, and she says her favorite job is being a mom. Katie's uncle and cousin both went to prison for sex-related crimes, but not for trafficking. If you are in a situation and need help right now, though, here is the free national hotline to call, 888-373-7888. You can also call your local police. Now, next Thursday at 6, we will continue Hidden Predators with a closer look at the role social media plays and how the traffickers use this to target and groom the victims. We'll tell you exactly what you need to tell your kids to keep them safe.
That's important. Okay, thank you, Alyssa. Yep. At the end of last year, Facebook had 1.8 billion users worldwide.
And for many, posting and liking comments is just part of our daily lives, but those posts can sometimes turn into targets for sex traffickers.
Tonight, 15 Finds Out investigator Alyssa Ivinson continues her series Hidden Predators, digging deeper into how social media is used to trap victims.
Well, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you've likely heard of those social media sites. But how about Kik or Yik Yak or Chat Roulette? All of them could be places predators solicit your kids, and you could have no idea they're being targeted.
It takes 24 hours to traffic a kid from the time they meet them online. 24 hours.
It can happen to anyone. Meeting up with someone from social media, and then they might disappear.
Post, like, comment, share. Social media is a big part of people's lives, especially America's youth.
Well, social media isn't evil itself, but it can be used for evil.
Social media has opened up access.
Social media is designed to connect people, but it also makes it easier for predators to connect with their next victim.
Before, you'd have to go sit in front of schools and places where kids would play, so that you could find kids that were out there that you could watch and maybe see if they were susceptible. Now you can just hop online and you've been friends with somebody. You see they're out there and someone just takes it upon themselves to see if they can prey on them.
Anyone you don't know in the real world is a stranger.
We wouldn't let strangers into our house. Why are we letting them into these kids' phones?
Many cases of sex trafficking start online and seem harmless at first.
People that want to hear that they're special and beautiful or handsome and smart, all the things that we want to hear, well, why wouldn't they say that to you? They're going to tell you that. Do they believe it? Probably not.
It's called grooming. Traffickers will monitor posts, pick their target, and prey on their weaknesses.
Traffickers look for naive children, and they look for kids who are needy. If they're talking about they're sad and they're depressed, well, that's a kid I can recruit. I can get to that kid. I can find a way into their life. I can make them feel better. I can tell them, oh, you want to be a model? I'll make you a model.
If you put on there everything your parents don't understand and it's out there, how easy is it for me to pop up online and say, well, it doesn't have to be like that. I'll get your nails done. I'll get your hair done. You'll eat 3 times a day. You'll eat 4 times a day if you want. I'll give you a warm place to stay, nice hotels.
The person on the other side of the screen could also ask for pictures, promise they'll be private. But then the sexting turns into sextortion, basically cyber blackmail, threatening to share the provocative pictures unless they get what they want.
Nude images and what someone will do to keep their school from finding out that there's all these nude images and things they've done to themselves. Adults will do the same thing. The ability to friend people on Facebook is easy. Make a fake page, same profile picture as the page of your target, you know, the person you're trying to sextort, and then all the pictures in it are all their naked pictures. It's so easy to reach out to someone's entire family base.
I have met a 5th grade girl who, on Kik, shared a video with someone she thought cared about her. He's already sent it to several people.
Talk to your kids about this kind of stuff, because it can happen.
How do you start that conversation as a parent? Like, what should that conversation look like?
Look, I'm really concerned about you. There's lots of bad people in the world. I really want to make sure that you're safe, and by having access to all of your internet and social media sites, I can help you with that.
Stop worrying about making them mad at you, but if you are that parent that's concerned about it, ask leading questions. A parent can come and say, hey, I heard about Kik. Can you show me what Kik is about? Start asking them, allowing your kids to teach you.
Not as a helicopter parent and to try to boss them around with this stuff, but just to say, look, we're in this together. The generation gap's got to close, and let's make this thing work together so that we can have a safe community.
Just last week, Remedy Live teamed up with police and Fort Wayne Community Schools to help educate parents about dangerous mobile apps and how to talk to their kids.
I want us to be so aware that any human trafficking rings of any size just say there's no chance we're going to make it in Fort Wayne because there's so much education.
How do adults talk to teens about sex trafficking?
Not to say, oh, sex trafficking is bad, and we're going to get into a conversation about it, and that's the topic of the day. Obviously, it's not easy to talk about, but the more casual and more comfortable we make it is the way to go, I think.
Huntington North High School senior Corbin Landrum was part of a class project on human trafficking and helped make a video depicting how quickly someone can get trapped in the sex trade.
A lot of times people are coerced into it and they don't know necessarily that they're in it. They're in the middle of it. Oh, you know, I'm your best friend, we're boyfriend, girlfriend. You think you love him, but then he asks for a favor and you would think you don't have a choice but to say yes. And that's not true. If you're not comfortable with something, you know, tell them.
If you could talk to all the teens in America, what is the #1 thing you would say to them about human trafficking?
Be responsible on social media. Think through what you're posting. If I post this, is that going to attract something I don't want? If I post this, is this going to attract something I do want?
How difficult of a problem is this to combat?
Every day there's new sites, there's new apps, there's new ways predators can get to our children.
Which is why the best defense is an open, honest, and continuous conversation.
Always being in communication with your child. Know what they're doing. Ask them. Talk to them. Parent.
Right now on Wayne.com, you can find a link to a website that lets you screen different apps. It'll tell you if they're dangerous or not. And if you or someone you know needs help from a trafficking situation right now, here's the national hotline to call. It's 1-888-373-7888. You can also call your local police. Now, next Thursday at 6, our Hidden Predators series continues, digging deeper into how agencies across the state are fighting back against sex trafficking. We will also answer your questions in a panel discussion on Thursday at 7 o'clock. You can watch it live on Wayne.com and you can ask your questions. Just send them to us on Wayne.com or on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag Hidden Predators. And you can also see the first 2 Hidden Predators stories right now on the 15 Finds Out page on Wayne.com.
All this is so very important. It can be so overwhelming to a parent because all these sites just keep popping up all over the place. New apps come out all the time.
That's right, which is why the dialogue needs to continue. It's not just one conversation, but just being involved in your child's life, knowing what they're doing, and making sure they feel comfortable coming to you and showing you if something looks weird to them.
Great information. Thank you so much for sharing it.
For the last month, we've shown you how serious a problem sex trafficking is.
It's happening all around us every day, and it's time to stop ignoring it. Tonight, 15 Finds Out investigator Alyssa Ivinson continues our exclusive series, Hidden Predators, and digs deeper into what we can all do to help stop it. Alyssa.
Education is the first step to putting an end to human trafficking. Just take a look at some news stories across the country, and there's proof awareness works. After getting training on what to look for, a flight attendant spotted a victim on a plane and then got her help when they landed. An Uber driver in California, a similar story. He recognized the red flags while taking a group to a hotel and called police. The victim was rescued and her traffickers arrested. It's examples like those, though, that highlight why it's so important for all of us to be aware and not let the predators stay hidden anymore.
As long as there's a demand for human trafficking, there's going to be human trafficking.
It's happening in urban settings and rural settings. It happens to boys and girls, men and women of all ages.
If they see something, say something.
We have a good community here. We don't want this going on here. Citizens can help us.
Whether we want to believe it or not, human trafficking is happening here and it's happening now. People forced into labor or the sex trade against their will.
Is it ever going to stop?
I think education is a really big key. I don't know that it'll ever stop, but I hope that we can have a dent, make a dent in that.
Do you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle?
I know what we're doing is good work, and we can't be everywhere all the time, but when we do focus on one thing, we can typically make a difference.
Society is starting to fight back.
Human trafficking is the buzzword right now, and that we're trying to educate people more and more on this issue, And the more we educate, the more the word gets out.
You don't have to be in law enforcement or in social work to have direct contact with these people. And if you're only aware, then you truly can do something to stop it.
History of abuse or neglect.
The Indiana Trafficking Victims Assistance Program holds education days for agencies across the state, like the one put on by Allen County Superior Court and Great Kids Make Great Communities just yesterday.
First off, they know how to identify victims and then what to do when they do identify victims. And what we are seeing is that the more training that we do, the more reports we are seeing.
As people recognize that what they're seeing is actually trafficking, reported cases in Indiana went up 37% last year, but it's still estimated that only 1 to 2% of sex trafficking cases ever get reported.
When you see it up close and personal, it really is impactful, and you feel for that child.
The courts are getting educated too. The Allen County Juvenile Center even created a new screening tool last March to better detect victims of trafficking.
To make sure that we were identifying and getting them the services that they needed.
We want to help that child. We want to rehabilitate that child. Our focus then is to find services for that child.
There were also changes in Indiana law last year.
There's now a special category of recognizing that juveniles that are engaging in juvenile prostitution acts or trafficked children, we recognize that they are victims, not perpetrators. And as a result, there's a whole category now of a child in need of services.
And a bill in the State House right now could remove convictions from a juvenile's record for acts performed while the child was being trafficked. It just passed the Senate unanimously.
It's a pretty high awareness that this is a special interest and special concern on a statewide level from the top down.
Education extends to the hospitality industry, hotel staff, from the front desk to housekeeping, getting training on what to watch for.
People going in and out of the room all hours of the night.
And when to call police.
It's really important. It's something that we didn't even think about before, but we definitely do now.
Awareness campaigns on the highways.
Educate truck drivers to what's going on. We can prevent this from the high-risk areas like the truck stops and the rest parks. You're aware last month was the Human Trafficking Month, right?
Nonprofit group Truckers Against Trafficking and Highway Patrol in Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio teamed up for an education blitz, giving drivers more than 3,000 brochures and wallet cards with warning signs and the number to report trafficking.
Just trying to give them a little more information on somebody they can call other than law enforcement, because a lot of times people are hesitant to come out and call us first. They want to help, but sometimes they want to help and not really be involved.
If they could recognize potential victims when they see it and then report it effectively, imagine how many more victims could be recovered.
To see it firsthand, 15 Finds Out rode along with an Indiana state trooper.
We just want to make sure that you know how to report it, and if you see it, to make sure that you are reporting it.
And talk to truckers who are happy to get the information.
They should educate the drivers. We're out here, we hear about it every day.
So if you guys saw something at a truck stop, would you call the 800 number?
Oh yeah, for sure.
They need to understand that, hey, I'm looking at domestic sex trafficking and I need to actually stand up and make a call on behalf of this victim when they can.
It's not right. And if it was your kid or if it was your sister, would you be mad if someone didn't say something?
But to really stop sex trafficking, awareness also needs to reach the buyers.
It's the consumers that we have the biggest problem with, because if you could stop the people from consuming it, then there wouldn't be a need for it. If we could get one person who's watching this to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore, that's one less time that girl they were going to call is going to get raped. That's the biggest thing that stops it.
Now, right now on Wayne.com, you can get the Truckers Against Trafficking wallet cards and see myths versus facts about human trafficking. Here's the national hotline to call if you need help right now, 888-373-7888. And tonight at 7, the conversation continues with a panel discussion live streamed on Wayne.com. It's your chance to ask experts your questions about human trafficking. Here's how you can submit them. There's a form on Wayne.com or use #HiddenPredators on Facebook or Twitter. You can also text Wayne followed by your question to 36729. But be sure to join us at 7 o'clock for that panel and get involved in this fight against human trafficking.
Very important information. Thank you, Alyssa.